Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be telling you everything you need to know about the University of Iowa. So I am a senior now, so I have been at Iowa for 4 years, and I know that many things have changed in my years here, but I think that a lot of the basic freshman stuff is pretty similar. So today I'm going to be telling you everything I think that you need to know before coming to the University of Iowa. So obviously first is admissions. You need to apply to get into the University of Iowa. But honestly, this admissions process and this application was by far the easiest application that I filled out of all the schools that I applied to. It was super easy, super quick. I didn't need to do any essays. I didn't even need to send in my ACT score right away. It was just a bunch of basic information. And the reason this is because the University of Iowa has something called a Regent Admission Index. What this does is it allows you to calculate whether you're going to get into the school before you even apply. It takes into account your ACT, your high school GPA, and then the amount of core classes that you took in high school. And with that, you should be able to calculate whether you'll be able to get in before you even apply. So if you don't think you're going to get in, you don't need to waste the money on the application. It's also really nice because you find out if you get in super soon. I applied in probably June or July before my senior year of high school, and I knew that I was accepted to Iowa and that I was going to Iowa in August before I even started my senior year. So it's super nice that you know super early, just so you know all of senior year where you're going and you don't even have to worry about it. Okay, next up is the dorms, and I know this is a very, very important thing to look at when you're coming here. Most freshmen, I would say, do live in the dorms, and even half of the sophomores, so figuring out which dorm you want to live in is super important. So to preface all of this, I lived in dorm my freshman year, but I'm not going to be biased, or at least I'm going to try not to be biased towards any of the dorms when I give you information about them. Okay, so if you don't know, the University of Iowa is split by a river. So there's an east side and a west side. So there's dorms on the east side and then there's dorms on the west side. So the dorms on the east side are Burge, Catlett, Courier, Dom, Stanley, and then Mayflower, which is on the east side, but it's further away, and I will talk about that dorm in a little bit. So there's a lot of important things to consider when you're trying to figure out which dorm to live in. So I think that these are some things that I would consider. So the first thing is dining. You want to figure out whether you want your dorm to have a dining hall in it. There are pros and cons to both, I think. So Burge and Catlett both have a dining hall, and then Burge also has a convenience store that has a lot of hot food options as well. So while it's super nice to have a dining hall in your dorm, just know that there's going to be a lot of people in the lobby, and a lot of times the kitchen causes the fire alarms to go off at times that you don't want it to go off. So as nice as it is something to consider. Another thing to consider is pod bathrooms. If you don't know what a pod bathroom is, it's basically like a bathroom that would be in your house. You go in, you shut the door, there's a toilet, a shower, a sink, everything, and once you shut the door, it's all to yourself. Other dorms have community bathrooms, so it's what you would typically expect of a college dorm, where there's just shower stalls and a bunch of sinks, and it's just a community bathroom. So on the east side, the dorms that have pod bathrooms are Catlett, Dom, and Stanley. So when I lived in the dorms, I did have pod bathrooms, and honestly, I loved it. But also from some of my friends, they also did not mind the community bathrooms at all. So it's really just up to your preference. I also know some rooms you can pay to have a bathroom in your room. So that's also another option. Some of the east side dorms also have fitness centers. So Catlett and Courier have fitness centers inside of it. So anyone that lives in the residence halls can go and use those fitness centers. But again, if you live in a dorm that has one, you don't even need to go outside. So another east side dorm that I want to talk about is Mayflower. So it is on the east side, but it is pretty far away from the rest of the east side dorms. It is a pretty far walk, but there is a bus that goes by all the time. So if you need a bus, there will be one. It's an apartment style dorm, so you have a roommate and a shared bathroom and kitchen with another room. So it's suite style, and a lot of people honestly love it, and they love being further away, kind of off campus. And then, of course, they love having their own kitchen. There's also a convenience store in Mayflower that people can use if they don't want to go all the way to the dining halls to get food. And now for the west side. So I already talked about all of the amenities, so I'm just going to go through them pretty quickly. So the west side dorms consist of Hillcrest, Peterson, Reno, and Slater. Hillcrest is the one that has the dining hall on the west side, and then they also have a convenience store inside of that one. So Peterson is the newest dorm. It does have pod bathrooms, a fitness center, and it does have Black's Gold Grill, which is a great place to eat any time of the day. I honestly don't know much about Reno and Slater, but I do think that Slater has pod bathrooms, so that is a plus. Another thing that is surprisingly super nice is having a sink in your room. Having a sink in your room, you can wash your face, brush your teeth, get all ready in your own room without even having to go to a bathroom. And then it's also super handy if you want to make easy mac or you just want to fill up your water bottle or something. I said this earlier, but a lot of the freshmen do live in the dorms, and also about half the sophomores do. So if you want to live in the dorms your second year, it's not going to be weird and you're not going to feel super old in the dorms because a lot of people live there their sophomore year and even their junior and senior year. But if you do want to get an apartment after your freshman year, you need to start looking super early. Most people sign their leases in October or November of their freshman year. So try to make friends and find people that you want to live with, but otherwise living in the dorms is totally fine. Okay, so now I want to talk about classes. So a lot of people might be wondering about the average class size and how big lectures and stuff are. So I would say that a lot of your gen eds and things like that are going to be pretty big lectures, but I think that if you have 100 people in your class and 500 people in your class, it really doesn't make a difference. So there are a decent amount of big lectures, but there will be smaller discussion sections of about 30 people, and you can be on a name-to-name basis with your TA and even with your professor. If you want the professor to know your name, you can make that happen, no matter how big the class size is. And I would say after your gen eds, once you get into classes more towards your major, the class sizes are going to be even smaller. So I would say for mine, probably between 30 and 50 people, and my professors know my name, which I think is very good, and it helps you stay attentive, and I just think overall it's good if your professor knows your name. Another thing people might be wondering is, will I be able to get help since the school is so big and my classes are so big? And the answer is yes. If you need help and you seek it out, it will be there for you. In my opinion, professors are very approachable. They always have office hours, and they're always willing to schedule around their office hours if you can't make it there. And like I said before, if you want the professor to know who you are, you can make that happen no matter how big the class size is. Go to office hours, introduce yourself during lecture, well, not during lecture, but after lecture. And then same with the TA. You can go to the TA's office hours anytime. You can be on a first name basis with them, and there's always help for you if you want it. Okay, another question people might be wondering about is the honors college. So I did live in DOM my freshman year, so I was in honors. So honors is something that most people get admitted to straight out of high school. It's based on their high school requirements, but you can apply to be in honors if you want to be. Some of the perks of being in honors include being able to live in DOM, which is the honors dorm. You also have access to the Blank Honors Center, which is actually connected to the honors dorm, which is really nice, and it's a super great study spot. And then you also have access to honors classes and honors discussions, and I highly recommend honors discussions because normally the professor or the head TA is the person that leads those discussions, so you get a really good teacher to help you understand things in discussion, and honestly, discussion is where you learn most of your information. Additionally, if you get straight into honors from high school and you don't need to apply, you get to register super early for classes. And this is a very good advantage because a lot of freshmen, when they're registering for their second semester classes, register like the last day. So by being able to register like the first or second day, you're guaranteed to get your classes, and it just makes life so much easier. Another thing people might be wondering is if I feel challenged in college, and the answer is yes. So I feel like I went to a pretty good high school that prepared me very well for college, but I still find it very challenging. And while challenging can be good and it can be bad, like I said before, there's always resources to help you. So if you're struggling, make sure to seek out those resources. And while the classes may be challenging, just remember that you're going to a Big Ten school that is highly recognized. So even if you're not doing as well as you would hope to do, employers are going to see that you went to Iowa or another Big Ten school, and they know that the classes are hard. So they know that you are getting a good education. Okay, another concern might be where to study. And let me tell you, there are so many places. So some of my favorites are the Blank Honors Center. It's super pretty, super quiet. Another one is Voxman, the music building. I am not musically talented the slightest bit, but the music building is so pretty, and I highly recommend checking it out. Another obvious one is the library, but also if you live in the dorms, the dorm lounges are super nice, and then people that live on your floor will come in and they can keep you company, and I just love the atmosphere of the dorm lounges. I also spend a lot of time at the IMU, which is the Iowa Memorial Union, and then local coffee shops are super cute and you can caffeinate while you study. Okay, now I'm gonna hit on some life outside of class things. So one question could be, do most people go home on the weekends? And I would say no. A lot of people that I know will go home once or twice throughout the semester on a weekend, but I wouldn't say that most people go home on weekends. I would say a lot of people are here. Another question is, do you need a car? And I would say as a freshman, no. The place that they have you park your cars is super far away. You can take a bus there, but it takes at least a half hour. So it's more of a pain to take the bus to get your car to drive somewhere that's probably closer than a half hour. So I would say no for freshman year. There's a Target downtown that's new, and I really wish I had that my freshman year, but it's so nice. There's CVS, there's tons of restaurants and stuff, so I would say you really don't need a car your freshman year. When you're an upperclassman or when you're off campus, you might consider one. I don't have one, but I drive my boyfriend's car a lot just because I like to be able to go get groceries and go to Starbucks or really just get out, go to the mall, do something. When you're in Iowa City, sometimes you feel like you just want to escape the college world, which is totally fine. And without a car, you wouldn't be able to do that, but you can definitely survive without a car. There's Target, which has groceries. There's John's Grocery, which has groceries. So there's no need for a car, but I would recommend having one if you can afford one. Another question is, do most people have a job? So I would say freshman year, some people have a job, but not everyone does. And then as you get up in the years, like sophomore, junior, senior, I see more people that have jobs, but a lot of people have on-campus jobs, which are super nice. I have an on-campus job. They're super accommodating to your schedule because they know that you're a student. Everyone that works there is a student. So I really like that. And there's tons of employment opportunities if you want them, but not everyone works. You don't have to work if you have the luxury of not needing to work. So I would say it's not weird if you don't work, and it's not weird if you do work. Okay, what do people do on the weekends? So I'm not gonna lie to you, there is a huge nightlife scene. The bar scene is very big. It's a very big thing, even during COVID. So if you're into that, there's tons of bars, tons of restaurants, tons of things that you can do. But if you're not into that, I'm personally not into that. There's tons of university provided activities that you can do. Um, so an organization called CAB is the Campus Activities Board, and they put on events on Thursday nights usually, and there's tons of cool things. Some of them happened in the dorms, some of them happen at other places on campus, but I remember my freshman year going to improv. There was a magician that came. There's tons of cool things that they do, so you're never going to be bored. There's always something that you'll be able to do. Another thing to keep you busy is by getting involved. So every fall and every spring, actually, there is a student org fair, and I highly recommend going to it. I am involved in probably too many student orgs, but that's where I meet all my friends and that's where I spend all of my time, and I love it so much. So I highly recommend doing that. And then we also have a pretty popular fraternity and sorority life. So if that's something that you're into, definitely check that out. I'm not in FSL, but I do have some information on it if you have any questions about it. And finally, why did I choose Iowa? So I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm from out of state. And honestly, I didn't even know the University of Iowa existed until probably my sophomore year of high school. But I went and I toured, and I just loved the atmosphere. It felt like a small school, even though it's a big school. But something with that is I am not anything medical. I'm in the business school, and the west side is mostly medical. So if you don't need to go over there for any classes, you just stay on the east side, and the east side is pretty small. You can get places pretty quickly, so it feels like a small school even though it's a Big Ten school. Another thing is there's just so much school spirit. When I started here, I bought so much Hawkeye clothes, so much. I just love the school spirit so much. The football games are so amazing to go to. I honestly just love the atmosphere. And finally, I touched on this a little bit, but it's just a really good school. Specifically for me, I'm in the business school, which we are very well known for having a really good business school, as well as other things like nursing programs, writing programs. We are just very well recognized as a really good school. So just by going here, having that on your resume, I think it'll help you a lot with employers. All right, I think that is it. I hope that you learned a lot, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I will help you answer them as best as I can. If you decide to go here, definitely take some of these tips. I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Go Hawks!